All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is Jonathan Lipp from the Big Apple Film Festival, and welcome to our Agents and Managers Conference. So our guest today, we have Anthony Marotto. Anthony is from APA, which is an agency based in New York and Los Angeles. So there he is. Hello, Anthony. Thank you for being here.
Morning, y'all.
All right. Good morning. And we have our moderator, Dianne Wieler. Hello, Dianne.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to all. Just a reminder, those with an all access pass have a registration form, which allows them to share information about their project, which will then be shared with all of our speakers at the conclusion of the conference. So be sure to fill out the registration form. For all others and for everyone on, please use the Q&A box to ask questions and share any information. And Dianne will get to as many questions as possible. So thank you all for being here, and I'll hand it over to Dianne. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Jonathan, and good morning. And we want to start as soon as we can, dive into the questions for Anthony. And so let's get started. Just a reminder that if you could put all of your questions in our Q&A and instead of our chat, and we can get right to it. So Anthony, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, originally from Buffalo, New York, moved to LA back in 2012, and started in the entertainment management representation side of the business. I was an intern, was an agent trainee, I was an assistant, I was a coordinator, and then eventually promoted to agent back in 2015. And then we opened an office in New York. I started our below the line division, which is physical production, everything from a line producer all the way down to editors. And now I work with a various amount of clients up and down the East Coast for shows with Netflix, the CW, TNT, FX, and as well as a lot of clients that do, films at festivals like Sundance, like TIFF. Some of them came out of the Big Apple Film Festival. So, and we work with a lot of the studios and production companies, helping them basically staff and crew up their projects. So that's a little bit about what I do and where I come from.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for that. And so our first question is, how can I get my 3 shows considered for licensing? I am a highly creative person who is not a writer or director.
Yeah, and licensing is sort of tricky. It depends on what kind of projects you're looking at. Are they intellectual property? Are they, original content? Are they stories? Are they books? You really either want to get them published, put into some sort of manuscript, and create awareness around them. From the agency side and the managerial side, we seek after a lot of projects and talent. So, the more awareness around them, the more buzz and publicity and stuff that we're seeing, we're gonna seek after those types of projects. So. Not necessarily going after the agencies right away, but continuing to grow and build up the property for licensing is, I think, where your first steps should be.
Okay. And would you recommend reaching out or making connections with agent assistants?
Because I started as an agent's assistant, I always feel like that's a great start. As an agent's assistant, they're the doorway to the agent. And also, if they want to become an agent, they're willing to, I think, take on, some of these newer properties and, projects that an agent may not have time for at the moment. So, getting to know them, appealing to them, and what type of projects that they are looking for their agents. I think it's definitely a good start, because you never know where they're going to go or who they're talking to, at the lunch table or in the break room or just in passing of the hall at the office. So
Yeah, it's about cultivating those relationships.
it really is. And again, the more people you know and the more people that know about you is very beneficial in any area of this business.
Okay. And so the next question, I have some interest from producers. They warn that getting a showrunner is a problem currently. Any tips for how I can help get them a showrunner for my project?
Yeah, and again, it's sort of the chicken before the egg type thing. Showrunners are going to want to know who's attached for cast or what, your plans are for a project. We find that, a hurdle on our end with some of our clients' projects, and they're represented by us. It's what type of project are you looking to make, and what showrunners are out there that share those general interests, have either done projects along the same, path, or are looking to do projects within that sort of creative column that you have your project with. The producers can sometimes help, as well as maybe supplying a list of, who you're thinking of as possible showrunners and connecting some dots as to, who they may know and who may know you.
Okay. And do you have any advice on how someone could use a production company listing on a project on IMDb and favorable reviews from others to their advantage?
Yes, I mean, again, with the attaching production companies or using IMDb, it can be helpful. But as far as, I guess, using that to attract more attention, it's good. Again, you're going to have elements of production companies that do want to help you with the project, but need more elements in order to go to that next level. I think there are some things that IMDb can truly provide as far as getting better reviews and having certain production companies attached to it, because projects could take up to 2, 3, 4, 5 years in order to gain some attention. So getting a production company attached and using the IMDb profile to get more attention, yeah, it works, but it only works if you've got the right type of people involved.
Okay. And do you work with international writers? This writer is spending time abroad, but also works within America.
We do work with international writers, more so when they're staffing up their projects. Our agency here does have an international division. We are based in London as well. And it's more so once the projects have some life, they will begin to basically connect them with the production companies that will go out and actually make the productions. So, we have some international writers. We have a scripted lit division that will also do books and authors and things of that nature out there as well. We were very big in the show Carnival Row, which is a big international production that originally started as a novel.
Okay. And this is a very general question. What would be your ideal client?
I think there's a lot of different variations of an ideal client. You have those ideal clients that will continue to have sort of a trajectory that starts off from a film festival and leads to them working on a major series like Euphoria. Somebody that's willing to take risks, and I think somebody that also is willing to work with their agent, listen to our point of view and say, okay, you may not want this project right away, or look at it and think, okay, it's not the biggest project, but what is, what do you see out of it? I think the clients that listen to us tend to have the most success. And I think that leads to being the most ideal client as a successful client.
Okay. And so this writer has a a few proof of concept episodes for TV shows. And they're wondering, should they send the episodes to a production company like Jax or A24, for example, or are they better just going to a streamer like Hulu or Netflix?
My question for them would be, if you've got these proof of concepts, you've already produced them, so you have some sort of material for viewing. A lot of festivals now have television columns. They have short columns. I would say before going out to a production company, see if you can attract a little more attention based on submitting it to some of these festivals or just submitting it to some of these other avenues where there's going to be viewership, there's going to be audiences, you're going to get some reviews on it. That then once you've built up a lot of that, then take it to a Jax and then, shop it around, because you're going to have a lot more behind it outside of just that proof of concept that, everybody will have.
Okay, got it. And do you have a necessary threshold for experience for considering somebody to sign?
I don't think there's really a threshold. I mean, we've taken on clients that have done just short films. We've taken on clients that have only done commercials and music videos. I really think there's a certain aspect of the crafts that we look for and sort of how your abilities are with networking, what the market is looking for. There's beginning to be a lot more younger, diverse talent coming out that have very little experience and they're just talented. They've done one project that's sort of spotlighted their work, and all they need is I think that connection to the other industry buyers and industry folks. So yeah, I mean, there's really no threshold as to being too small or too big, really.
Okay, got it. And could you talk about if producers and how do producers and distributors determine marketability?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, with the film festivals and I think some of the indie films, there's an algorithm. I don't know what that algorithm is, but you hear it a lot as far as which people in the cast are going to get them a $5 million budget and which people in the cast are going to get them only a $2 million budget. And with a lot of these films, you read these scripts and you go, okay, we can't make this for $2 million. It has to be $5 million. So I feel like the producer's marketability on that end is saying, okay, we need a certain A-list cast, A-list director, or maybe even another A-list producer to come on board in order to push them to that level of a $5 million budget or financing to make this film. Sometimes they'll sacrifice that and go back down to a $2 million film, and the writers and directors and creatives involved in it need to tweak the film in order to make it fit within that box. But I think there's some kind of algorithm out there that, again, warrants a certain budget for a film. And that being said, I think it does determine on the cast and other attachments above the line.
Okay. And if someone sent their project to a producer, but their reply was, we don't take unsolicited material, where would they go from there?
I think a good place is the writing festivals. There's sort of these projects that, again, with Big Apple Film Festival and submitting a lot of this stuff there, continue to put it out there and that sort of stuff. We as agents, we pay attention to these types of things. The unsolicited thing, it is tricky. I mean, if we let everybody just submit projects, I think we'd have no time to take care of our clients. So when they have the opportunities to go out and look, the blacklist is a huge thing. Continuing to just shop it around and send it around to people to read. They're going to talk about your material if it's good. So it soon will become unsolicited, because you're going to have managers and agents trying to read it and find out more about it. And, oh, I heard that this project has been, circulating the industry. I want to get my hands on it. So I think, it's a matter of sharing it, with your community and other people within, the industry here, just to read it,
Okay. And do you think there's value in mentioning it? You had an honorable mention when approaching a manager or an agent?
I think it's good to, mention any sort of accolades. You won, made it into whatever festival or contest it was. So, there's a plus above everybody else. But yeah, mention whatever award, honorable mention, runner-up thing there is, because just like in the Emmys and Oscars, you get nominated. You might not win, but it's still a nomination, and that's something to be proud of. So.
Mhm. Okay. And do you have any thoughts on pitching video game scripts or getting video game scripts noticed?
I have seen more and more of those properties, coming out. I think it's trickier because who owns the rights to that video game? It's a little tougher to have that as your own personal property and material. But I think it's also a good start because there's built-in audiences for a lot of those projects. I mean, you look at Sonic and some of these other Halo, bigger franchise video games that are doing really well, but they're optioned by the production companies. So they definitely have an aspect that you'll have to collaborate with whoever owns the video game or is working with the video game. Making a short or doing shorts and doing that based off of some of the stuff can really help. I think some of these younger directors get opportunities too, because people love. I know somebody did the Power Ranger short, and it kind of blew up and became an even bigger thing, and it was fun for them. And now they're on the radar for us and the industry. Okay.
And what are your thoughts on sizzle reels and pitch decks? Are they helpful?
They really are. From my side of the business, it definitely helps us understand the vision and creative flow behind the project. Too much, you can read a script and take it out of context or think that, it's more funnier than it should be, or it's less comedic than it really is meant to be. So, having those to associate with your vision is definitely instrumental and helpful. I think a lot of times when we're looking at pitching clients on projects, we always ask for a lookbook. We always ask for any sort of pitch deck or sizzle reel that can be associated with the script and project. It gives us a true understanding of the vision behind it.
Okay. And do you believe focusing on a low budget script is more likely to be picked up when starting out?
Low budget, high budget, it really doesn't matter as long as I think the script is good. It's tough if you're sort of not known to the industry just yet. But it's a little bit easier, I think, if you're trying to pitch a $1 million project versus a $10 million project as a first-time filmmaker. There's a lot of, I think, consideration in the investment from financiers to put up $10 million versus, $500,000 to make a movie. And you can see trajectory in that. It doesn't have to be a $10 million movie. You can do a $500,000 movie today and 5 years later be doing a $5 million movie.
And so My Pilot has won several awards and official selections, even though
Congrats.
even though there are not the bigger festivals. Does this help in getting representation?
I think so. It's being recognized. It's winning. There's definitely something there that is of the caliber that can be awarded these accolades. So I think at that point it's going to be the right representation will come up. It may not be the ones you're after, the APAs and the bigger agencies, but from a manager's side, there's somebody out there for everybody, I think. And that right time and right place will happen for that project. You just have to continue to push forward. And if it's not that one right now, work on something else. Do that again for a different project, and I think you can, see more and more attention if that now happens for a second pilot. And there's filmmakers out there that have been pushing their material, and they're super successful already, but haven't made the project that they originally set out to make 10 years ago. They've made 5, 6, 8 other films, but haven't made that one pilot script or TV show that they originally wanted to. And it'll come.
Okay. And in reaching out to you for possible representation, would it be more prudent to send a completed short to you, or would maybe a festival invite would be better if you were local?
Either or, yeah. I mean, if it's one of the major festivals, I always love hearing about those projects because they might not initially be on my radar. We go to them and we scout out some of the opportune talent, but then we also are there with our clients. So if I get an email that says, "Hey, my short is playing here at Sundance in this section," I love that, and I'll happily go check things out in that regard. And before the pandemic and everybody started traveling again and festivals were in person, I liked watching some of the shorts and pilots and presentations from home. We could go through more than actually being at a festival and having to be physically there. So either or is really good. Okay.
And what do you think the demand right now is for something like a family adventure comedy market?
I think it depends on the distributor broadcast. I mean, the market as a whole is seeing an influx of, I think, properties that already exist, and news articles, and shows like The Drop, and projects like We Crashed. There's a lot of that out there, but then from the family original content, you've seen things like Vacation Friends be really successful. You're watching shows on Netflix that I think are very family oriented. So there's definitely a market for it out there. I can't really say which shows are more marketable than others, because it just depends on the buyer or the distributor. Because some networks like ABC Freeform will have a need for more of that than a HBO or a Showtime or Stars.
Okay. And since formatting is a learned skill, how or where do you recommend a writer learn part of that craft? In workshops, seminars, academic classes, reading, or just trial and error, etc.?
I think all of the above. I mean, yeah, the more you hone your craft and the more you continue to write, that's definitely going to come over time. I find that there's different methods for everybody. You can really take a project and work through the sort of 3 acts based on that, or you can really develop something that's so abstract that doesn't necessarily fit with the form of normal scripts or projects, that can be really appealing to the audience, can be really appealing to the below the line side of us. I mean, some of our DPs love shooting things that aren't necessarily that traditional format, and bounce back and forth from, foreshadowing to flashbacks and so on and so forth. So, write what's true to you. I think work with other people to say, hey, does this make sense? As well as, shop it around and try to enter it into sort of these industry festivals, because then you'll get industry feedback as well.
Okay, multiple avenues.
Exactly.
So right. And so what is the best way, do you think, to market your screenplay and get it in the right hands to be read?
I really don't think there's a right hands per se. I think hands in general, anybody in the industry will be helpful in that regard. Submitting it to a lot of stuff, again, reaching out to those that that have some connections to the industry is helpful, but at the end of the day, it's more awareness, the ability to just get it out there, get feedback, change what you need to change, and continue to submit it and write other stuff.
Okay. And along the lines of something maybe a little more subjective, when pitching projects, what do you think agents are looking for?
When pitching projects, I guess, are you pitching it for the aspect of getting financing, or are you pitching it for the aspect of attaching cast, directors, representation to shop it around? I mean, if you're going to pitch it, have a very clear goal in mind as to are you just looking for the agent to come in and represent your show, your project? Because most of the times we're looking to represent the writer themselves. We don't attach ourselves to just projects and one-offs. We want to associate ourselves with that person. We think there's talent there. Have samples, have more samples, have produced samples, make a short that goes with another, smaller script that you wrote. I feel like when we're looking at, our side of, the talent pool and, DPs and editors and stuff like that, they're sending us not just one project, they're sending us a plethora of things that we can sort of assess their abilities upon.
Okay. And do you think writers should have any trepidation about their material being appropriated, stolen?
It's tough. I mean, we talk about that aspect with some of our designers too. It's intellectual property. It's your material. It's, your ideas. I think that's why the WGA is there, in order to help protect that as well. So register it, make sure you, put as much or protect yourself as much as you can based on that. Because, just like you're talking to a friend on the streets or at a bar, they hear you say something that's a great idea. They might go home and write that idea. There's no way to really protect it. The same with our designers. A lot of them go in and they pitch these elaborate ideas. They don't get the job, but then they find out that, oh, wow, that thing about the yellow dress that I told the director about, they're seeing a yellow dress now. So it's tricky. It's a challenge within the industry, but it's all about integrity, about, who you're talking to and those that are then going out to make the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so currently my synopsis is 2 pages long. Would agents and managers that see these, would that be too long, do you think?
I don't think too long is a thing. I mean, a synopsis is what you want it to be. If you haven't fully fleshed out the script yet or anything like that, a synopsis is a good start. And again, 2 pages, not too bad. If you were to say 12 pages or 15 pages, you might as well continue writing the script at that point.
Okay. And what does a licensing company do for a writer?
I'm not really sure. I can't really elaborate on that one. That might be something better to ask a licensing agent.
Okay. And how important do you think a recommended rating is?
A recommended rating. What is a recommended rating? I guess that's.
Yeah, I suppose PG or G or R.
Oh, okay. As in I don't think that really will play too much into, again, the attention of us. I think if the material and the writing is good, we're not going to care if it's PG-13. We're not going to care if it's an R or R or whatever that might be. I think, again, we focus on the content itself, and making sure that content is sellable. There's a buyer out there and there's something that we can associate with those.
Okay. And this goes back to an earlier question. If you found a project you loved, but the creators are unknown, would you still consider working with the creators?
Absolutely. In my personal take, yes. I do that with with our below the line and physical production stuff. You know, there's, again, music videos that maybe nobody's heard of, or there's a short that I might have been the only one sitting in that theater watching, but I thought it was amazing. I will reach out, and it may not be an initial like, hey, I want to represent you. And don't take that as a no or be discouraged, but we want to make that contact. We sort of want to be the first thought when, you know, your level continues to grow. So as far as, yeah, the unknownness of it, I think I find myself exhilarated by that stuff, because we can take a chance on you, and you know, we hope that if we're the one to start your career and be there at the beginning, you know, hopefully we'll be there at the end.
Mm-hmm. And so what would an ideal query letter look like for you?
For me and my side, it's a little bit different. There's going to be links. I think there's going to be a general introduction. I've seen some come in from the lit side, and they include obviously writing samples and stuff like that. I think it's trickier from the talent agency side, because writers tend to have managers a little bit first. And then once they have the managers, they'll help, I think, you know, carve and craft those outreaches to agencies. So, you know, that's sort of a different aspect than what I deal with. Whereas the below the line side, you know, if an editor was to send a query letter, it would include, you know, some samples. It would include a link to whatever episodes of shows they've cut. You know, same thing for a production designer or costume designer. You know, there's links, there's aspects and samples of their work that we like to see. Oh, I think you're muted, Diane.
Sorry about that. And so when a writer is seeking representation, what mistakes do you think new writers will make most often?
I think one is, yeah, taking no for the answer is like, okay, this is the end of the road. You know, it might not be that project that they're interested in. It might not be, you know, the right time for those agents, as well as, again, managers are very crucial in crafting some of the younger talents and up and coming talents' careers. So I think go back out there, write something else, try to have it produced, see if, you know, you can make a short within the community or within a smaller group within the industry. That I feel like is the toughest thing for some of these unrepped writers out there, is thinking, okay, I've got this great thing. If people say no to it, then that's it for me. You know, make another great thing. You know, try to continue to build that foundation to where you have enough material and samples for somebody to say yes, because the industry's big and representation and our side is there's somebody for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So fall in love with an idea and be passionate about that, but also cultivate other storylines that you're feeling really positive about. So how
Absolutely.
important is it for a writer to have a website, do you think? And what should they include in it?
I mean, I think we're moving into a very digital age. You know, for writers, I think it's an aspect that you can utilize to drive viewership and the side of, hey, come check this out, versus sending links and PDFs and stuff like that to other stuff. It's all hosted on one specific place. I think websites for the below the line side are more beneficial. I don't see too many writers having a website as much as, like, you know, if you're a writer, producer, director, and you have a lot of stuff on it to show, that can be beneficial. But I don't think it's necessary as much as it would be just an added benefit.
Okay. And for those of us who are directors who've written our own work, do you pair established writers with the director to upgrade the script if need be?
Sometimes they will. I mean, there's some of our DPs that their craft is visual, and they have a great story to tell. They want to direct and have written their own project to direct. But sometimes they'll reach out, or they'll come to us too and ask, hey, we'd like a more established writer to take a pass on it. And you have to be open to that sort of collaboration, because sometimes things will change that you may not be exactly happy with, but it'll make you a little uncomfortable, but that's part of the process. So it's not a thing that has to happen. Sometimes you will find that with bigger projects and the studio tentpole things and stuff like that. But if it's a script that you want and the right co-writer is out there, it can happen. And if you're open to it, allow it to happen.
Okay. And can you talk about the process about pitching to Netflix or other streamers?
I mean, I can touch on it from what I've seen some of our line producers and DPs and folks that work with those directors do. I think it's changing now that there is a lot of competition in the streaming market. I feel like Netflix 5-6 years ago was very open to everything. They were a brand that was the streaming service. Now you've got competition like Hulu and Amazon and HBO, and every other network has a streaming service that is different than their content that's on cable. So I think when it comes to pitching to Netflix, just as much as another streamer now, they're beginning to hone in on what their brand is, what their columns need, whether it's a family show, whether it's a major tentpole or fantasy project. So when it comes to pitching to them, I think know what show you have, what column it kind of falls under, and finding the right person at that network that's good to talk to.
Okay. And could you define below the line and above the line?
Oh, yes. I mean, great question. I'm glad that somebody asked that. Above the line, it's a very old system. When you looked at budgets, they drew a line, and all of the crew and everybody under that line was considered below the line. The director and writer and actors were always above that line. So there was a number that it costs in order to make the movie, so the production costs, and then there was a number that you had to pay the cast and the director and everybody else up front in order to get that movie to the starting line. So below the line just is also, I like to create this analogy too. If you're on set and you basically draw a line where the camera lens is, below the line is everybody on the other side of that line behind the camera, which is the crew, and then everybody in front of the camera is also above the line.
Okay, thank you. And so if your script is picked up and goes into production, as a writer, how involved would you be on set?
As a writer, when I go to set to visit a lot of our indie filmmakers and cinematographers and production designers there, the writer actually has his own chair. A lot of times they're right there with the director, just asking like, hey, is this kind of what you pictured? Is did we hit the scene? I think they're very involved in the process, especially on a lot of the independent films, as well as television. I mean, there's staff writers that will go to a series and watch an episode, and the writer of that episode is generally right there in Video Village working with the director who's flown in, doesn't know anything about really like the character arcs just yet, and is sort of working with that director to pull out, okay, this character is really mad, or oh, the scene needs to drag on, it needs to feel uncomfortable, like things like that. Writers are very involved. I think it's helpful too to the process.
Okay. And back to an assistant question, in regards to talking to agents' assistants, is that calling the agency, would you try to get through via email or calling directly?
Both. I mean, we do get unsolicited things often, and most of the times the assistant is the one to decide whether or not this needs to be passed on to the agent, or if I should handle it, review it, and then decide whether or not that goes on. So if you have the agent's assistant's email, reach out, send them a message and just say, hey, wanted to send this your way, and see if it was of interest, and follow it up with a call. I think it doesn't hurt to just make sure they received it. They may not have feedback right away, but at least make sure it's there.
Okay. And how would you assess the viability of an animated concept? Do you suggest finding an agent or a producer to help gain attention?
I suggest making it. I think, again, if there's a way for you to make the content, I think it's going to attract the attention of people out there. Have your resources and your network, see who can help you get it, as if it's just a concept, if it's just a small little aspect of things, so they can check out. I think the minuscule amount that you can make of that project just goes to show the vision and your ability to get it there. And the agent will obviously come, when the time is right. Same with managers too. They're gonna generally reach out when there's some interest there. Put it out there, tell them what you're doing, so they're aware of it and they can keep an eye on it as well.
Okay. And so this writer is currently working with a producer, putting together a lookbook for TV pilots to shop the studios. And they're in the collaboration process of attaching talent. So when do you think is a good time to approach an agent? Before optioning or after optioning? Or should they wait for recommendations, referrals from the producer?
I mean, you necessarily don't need an agent if you have the producer to shop it around with. I think a lot of the times the agent's going to come in and obviously protect your best interests and work with you to negotiate the deal once either the network or studio or production company has expressed interest. I think that's something that people don't understand, is that you don't necessarily need the agent unless you have a producer that can actually help you get that project out there and seen. If you're already working with somebody to do that, that's great. And then going out to agents, whether you're going out to them as well to like get talent attached to it, I think that may come as well. Because if they read it and they see the producer you're attached to is a certain level too, they may actually generally just say, hey, and who are you rep by? They're going to attach their talent. And then maybe they want, because their talent is now attached to the project, they want to represent the project for the best interests of their talent.
Okay. And I think we have time for just one more question. So yeah, it's gone by quickly.
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions, but I hope they've all been, I hope the answers have been helpful.
Absolutely. And so do you think it's advisable to seek an agent or a manager first?
In my side of the business, the below the line and the DPs and editors and such, they don't have managers. Writers, actors, directors, they do have managers. And I think starting off, it is good to have a manager. Managers will then also have connections with agents that eventually they will bring you in the fold too. It's as long as you have somebody in your corner, I think it's helpful. For writers, I think a manager is a good place to start.
Okay. And some final parting words of wisdom.
Okay.
For you.
I would say, again, don't give up. There's somebody out there for everybody. And if it's the project that you're most passionate about, it will come back around. I think you keep doing what you are doing, and happy and proud about the material that you're writing and making, somebody will take notice, and eventually you will get to do everything, hopefully, on your slate.
Fantastic. So, Jonathan.
Okay. Hi.
Jonathan.
Thank you. Yeah,
Hey.
thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time. And again, the all access pass holders, you can fill out the registration form with your project info. We'll pass it along to all of our speakers. So thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Diane. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah,
Thank you very
look forward
much.
to seeing you all.
All right, and we have another conference in 15 minutes with Lillian LaSalle from Suite 180 Management. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Okay, thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Diane.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.